Now to the big talking point in Scotland and the potential takeover of Rangers, a consortium which includes Paraag Marathe, who's heavily involved with the NFL team, the San Francisco 49ers, and is also the chairman of Leeds United, are in talks about becoming a majority shareholder. Well, let's get more on this. We can speak now with football finance expert Kieran Maguire. Kieran, good afternoon to you. First of all, what can you tell us about this potential deal?
Well, it does appear that there's been issues as far as the board of directors and the shareholders at Rangers are concerned. That there has been historically some infighting taking place there. And I think the club, if it wants to move forwards, does need external investment. So having an American consortium, especially with the enthusiasm for American investors in both Scottish and English football, has merits. You've got the strength of the dollar. You've got the fact that there's an awful lot of very wealthy people in America due to the success of the economy over the last decade or two, does indicate that there's an opportunity here. And of course, Rangers is an iconic football club with a history and heritage which would attract many American investors.
And what about the makeup of the Rangers board? How difficult is it to finalise a deal due to that makeup?
Well, I think it's been difficult internally to get agreement in terms of the direction of the club, but there have been some changes at board level. They've now got Patrick Stewart as one of the chiefs there. He's come from Manchester United, so he's used to dealing with complex footballing issues and new owners. Getting all the directors to row in the same direction, getting all of the investors to be willing to put the same amount of money into the club when cash has been required, I think has been challenging in the past. And that takes some of the direction away from the club. So if they can get agreement, and I think it will be challenging but not impossible, then having a single party with the controlling interest allows the club to go forwards with a strategy and a culture which can be including everybody on board.
And you touched on it briefly, but why are all these American owners interested in branching out to the Scottish League?
Well, compared to buying an American franchise sport, if you're looking to buy into the NFL, you're probably talking a minimum of $5 billion. Even if you want to buy into MLS, in the United States itself, you're probably looking at a franchise expansion fee of at least $250 million, and that's before you build a stadium. If you could buy into clubs in England and Scotland, and I think it costs San Francisco 49ers £170 million to buy Leeds United, you've got an existing fan base, you've got an existing stadium, you've got the opportunity, in the case of Leeds, of a high chance of getting into the Premier League, and if you buy into Rangers Football Club, you've got the opportunities to get into Europe, and Europe has become very lucrative following the expansion of certainly the top two-tier competitions by UEFA, and investors can see the benefit of that. And clearly Rangers are a club that have historically been able to get into Europe on the back of their success in the Scottish Premiership.
And of course, we know that the 49ers already own a percentage of Leeds. Would that complicate this deal in any way?
I think it would only complicate it if both clubs ended up in the Europa League in a few seasons, and then there would have to be some checks and balances employed. But we've seen that happen at Manchester United with Jim Ratcliffe's investment. We've seen that happen in terms of the Aston Villa owners, and they had an overseas investment club. So I don't see it as being a downside. I think when you've got two clubs with as passionate a fan bases as Leeds United and Rangers, I think they would both want to be seen to be top dog in terms of where the attention of the owners and the investment is going to be. And I think that could be the only complication, but I think that's something which can be easily overcome given the professionalism that we've seen from American investors to date.
And a lot of fans in particular hear takeover and they think investment. If this takeover happens, do you think we can expect to see big investment in the team?
Well, I think the first thing that has to be done as far as the investors are concerned is they have to pay the existing shareholders. Now, we don't know the price that's going to be sought. Currently, Rangers have around about 500 million shares in issue. They issued some shares yesterday at 20 pence each. So that gives sort of a baseline figure of just over 100 million. But you'd have to pay a significant premium on that to persuade existing shareholders to sell. So that's a lot of money that will be going out of the investors' pockets. Rangers fans, if the deal goes ahead, they would be hoping that they would be able to have a transfer kitty, which would allow them to challenge on a greater level than that of the position they currently find themselves. And that's always the case. We've seen similar when there's been takeovers at clubs such as Aston Villa and Newcastle, when the owners have come in, especially if the owners are super wealthy.
And with all that being said, how much does Rangers actually need this takeover to happen?
Well, I think Rangers are in a league where, if as far as their fan base is concerned, if you're second, you're nowhere. So it is a case of challenging Celtic at present, and I think there's no doubt that Celtic are ahead of Rangers both on and off the pitch in terms of finances and in terms of success as far as the Scottish Premiership and European football is concerned in recent years. So from an investment point of view, you've got to put the money in to increase the quality of the playing staff, and on the back of that, get the results which could potentially give Rangers a chance of winning the Premiership. And from that, of course, European football in terms of the Champions League, and for every 22 pence that you get in the Europa League, you're getting 100 in the Champions League. So Celtic will have a significant advantage this season, for example.
Kieran, always good to get your insight. Thank you so much for joining us.